The ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, on Tuesday conducted state congresses around the country in preparation for the zonal congresses and national convention slated for March 12 and 16, respectively. In Lagos and Ogun states, APC re-elected Cornelius Ojelabi and Yemi Sanusi, respectively, for a second term as state chairman. In Bayelsa State, Warman Ogoriba emerged as the state chairman of the All Progressives Congress in the Bayelsa State Congress held in Yenagua. Emmanuel Anosike, former senator representing Anambra North in the senatorial district, emerged as the new chairman of the Anambra State chapter of the All Progressives Congress, APC. While in Kwara State, Sunday Fagbemi was elected chairman of the APC. Other states include Oyo, where Moses Alake Adeyemo emerged as the new chairman, and in Ondo State, Kolawole Babatunde emerged as the new chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Other states where congresses were held include Enugu, Edo, Delta, and Katsina. Joining us later on this show to review the congresses held across the country is Felix Morka, and in fact, I understand he's already here, National Publicity Secretary of the APC. He will also touch on the belief of opposition parties that the ruling party is poised for an implosion after the primaries scheduled for April. Good morning, Felix Morka, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Doctor. How are you today?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Okay, the APC is trying to make it seem like everything is so nice, has gone smoothly, and there was no problem. Well, in almost all the states, what we can point to is that there was a general endorsement of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the presidential candidate of your party in 2027. At least there's a consensus in that, whether it's Taraba or Kebbi or Edo or Katsina or Kano or even the states in the southern part of the country, understandably. But how about the states where you had problems? In Ondo State, ahead of these congresses that were held, the party was divided over, nomination of delegates, over consensus approach. There was even a faction of the party that went to court. But yesterday, there was still, a Congress, and in the introduction, I mentioned somebody who has emerged, I think Kolawole, who has emerged as the chairman of, of the APC in that state. What next in the politics of Ondo State? Another place where there was a problem is Sokoto. I think in Sokoto, the Congress could not hold. In Ekiti, there was a court injunction which was bypassed. In Sokoto, again, conflict between Senator Lamido and Senator Wamako. So what's the update in that? So that, just to point to those two states so that you don't give the impression that everything was so nice and everything went smoothly.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Look, be rest assured, we are not trying to give any impression. We are only, whatever communication that you are reading, we are only, I think, telling Nigerians how our congresses have gone. And they've gone extremely well. The APC is the largest party in this country and maybe on the continent. And when you conduct statutory events like congresses, you are expected, not just bound, you're expected to have, people complain in that large system. It's a massive system to manage. Just to constitute our committees to oversee our elections and ensure that these things are done and delivered efficiently takes a lot of thinking and a lot of planning and a lot of execution. So when you suggest, and rightly so, that we have pockets of issues here and there, that is, to be expected. No system is, entirely perfect. We are not, and we have never told anyone that we're perfect. We're not. We're citizens, we're Nigerians, we're human beings, and we're liable to our own errors. But however, what is important here is that our party has delivered a Congress that we can say has been, largely peaceful and cohesive, given that, out of the states that participated, because there were some exceptions that didn't participate either because of, elections, ongoing elections, or other activities, we, exempted them from participation. But in the states where Congress is held, from ward, LGA, now to state, we have had relatively peaceful systems. Now, as for Ondo State, that you referenced in your question, yes, we had some concerns of, party members who, even had to go to court to litigate this matter, and, who were able to, secure an interim injunction to restrain the conduct of the state Congress. Now, keep in mind, in that state, we had the ward and the LGA Congresses successfully delivered. Now, this injunction pertained to the conduct of the state Congress in Ondo State. Now, look, as a political party, we do not joke with the orders of court. We seriously, make effort to comply fully with the court, directions. However, when you go to court and you secure an interim order of court where the other party, the defendant, is absent, is not in court, didn't have notice to come because it's interim. It's simply the plaintiff moving the court by, themselves without the other party present or getting the opportunity to respond. They got an interim order to that effect. Now, at the time that this Congress was going on, that order had not been, either, served or communicated to those in Ondo State that were not party. The Ondo State chapter was not a party to that suit. It was the national party. So if, an order was obtained in Ondo State at the Federal High Court, that order had not been effectively communicated to the actors in Ondo State at the party, state chapter of the party, and even the Congress committee people who were on ground to conduct that, Congress. So I am just learning as of, this morning that in fact there was such a court order. Now, you don't comply with an order you are not aware of. So that's the Congress held and delivered the outcome that you also, referenced in your question. So, now, because the matter is in court, we must, abide by that process. Now we have become aware that this case is in court and there was in fact an order that was issued. But that order was not communicated to the state chapter or to the committee organizing Congress. So now that outcome is there. So what I think we all need to wrap our minds around now is to return to court and have the court deal with this matter based on the existing, circumstances and reality that is not presented. And I will not comment any further because this matter now is sub judice, as I got to learn early this morning.
Welcome, Sokoto. Right. Sokoto. Do you have information?
Look, it's not just Sokoto. There are other states where there are other states, Doctor, where we suspended our congresses because of one challenge or the other. Again, I would, you would indulge me not to say too much because those matters are under review by the appropriate authorities of, my party. And, I wouldn't want to, preempt the conversations or the direction of those efforts to resolve, some of these issues. Look, I've always said, even on your show, that one thing that distinguishes the APC from the other parties is that our systems for conflict resolution is very mature, and we don't take it for granted because we know these issues will arise. People will be disappointed and we complain. The fact that they're within the party doesn't mean they agree necessarily with every position the party takes. So they have a fundamental, constitutional democratic right to complain. But when they do, we are always willing to take it, which is why as a party, we notified INEC and suspended congresses in some of those states so that we can then return back to base and, really look at and scrutinize the issues at stake and hopefully reach, a compromise that will serve the best interest of the APC.
All right. Thank you very much. So I want to ask you, yesterday we had an interview with Kenneth Okonkwo, and he had accused the APC of using even machinations of the law through the legislature to put into the Electoral Act of 2026 provisions that would favour the APC and crowd out opposition parties. The case in point is the mandatory use of registered, e-registered party members for nominated person, also direct primaries to be legitimate. What do you have to say about that? That this environment, the APC, like you've mentioned, in many parts of the country have been able to hold its congresses, but making it difficult for other parties through, whether it's through the legislature, your members in the assembly, or through, acts of intimidation and coercion. What do you have to say about that?
Ayo, we are not coercing, we are not intimidating, and we have no reason to coerce or intimidate anyone or any opposition party. Now, the Electoral Act was promulgated by the National Assembly pursuant to its constitutional authority. The APC is not the National Assembly. The National Assembly is an agglomeration of all of the elected representatives of the people across political parties. Yes, we're in a majority, no doubt. But that does not mean that the Act of National Assembly must then necessarily be ascribed or becomes ascribable to the APC. That would be a flaw, which is unfair and actually even nonsensical. Now, I don't know what Kenneth Okonkwo was talking about, but we have the Electoral Act that was promulgated and signed by the President of the Federal Republic, and today is now law. You see, look, fact of the matter is that, we, the APC, are affected like everyone else, all other political parties in the country. I don't know where they think that the APC has an advantage or that the APC is doing something untoward to skew the process in its favor. We're not doing that. The Electoral Act, for instance, the Electoral Act has proscribed the indirect primary system for the election of those who govern. We are not screaming because we respect the authority of the National Assembly. Everybody else should do the same. We didn't create the National Assembly. APC did not create it. The National Assembly predates the APC. The Constitution predates the APC. In fact, it's the ground norm. And, that is the overriding law. So look, these accusations by the opposition, it's lame. It's simply,
Morka,
it doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Morka, I'm glad you said that APC did not create the National Assembly, but you did agree that APC makes up the majority. And besides, the Senate President himself has said that whatever the President wants, he effectively gets. So there's credence to that in that matter. If you wanted to use the instrument of the Assembly, for instance, it's available to you. So you cannot just say that it's without merit, because the APC has majority in the National Assembly and the Senate President has said he's working effectively with the President.
Mr. Morka, if you want to answer, you can answer before I comment.
No, my dear friend,
go ahead.
Please, just let me quickly respond to that, if you don't mind, please. I beg of you. Look, Ayo, the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic, His Excellency Senator Godswill Akpabio, is the President of the Senate. I am sure that whatever reference you're making about whatever comments he's made, which I'm not aware of, he didn't gavel it sitting and presiding over the National Assembly. The Senate President is also a citizen who is entitled to his opinion. And I don't think that you should conflate the opinion of the personal opinion of the President and his own disposition, which he's entitled to, and the authority of the Senate. I don't think he declared as National Assembly of the Federal Republic that whatever the President wants, he gets. That is not what happened, I'm sure. Okay. Please proceed, my dear friend.
That's what happened. In fact, let me put the word properly. The President of the Senate said he's loyal to the executive branch. In fact, I remember the day he said it. That's why I went up in arms. I said, what kind of constitution and democracy are we practicing? That somebody should pinch me here. Is there no separation of powers? He said he's loyal, full loyalty.
It was IFTA.
And he was during the IFTA ceremony. He said he's loyal. So I'm sure we were able to nail the point very well. And we saw it play out. See, me, I condemn the opposition too. I call them a coalition of jokers. But as regards the high-handedness of the ruling party too, you people too have your own. Let me give you empirical facts. Number one, the House of Rep decided on a particular proviso, on a particular part of the bill, Section 60, Subsection 3, by December, and they passed it. In the space of 2-3 days, they quickly changed it so that the president will be able to sign it in alignment in the space of 24 hours. Till today, we have not seen the gazetted copy. Everything was hurriedly done. That's not fair enough. Also, the other parts that they changed, a lot of them complained that they didn't even get a chance to see it. So those are the issues people are complaining about. Yes, the opposition have their own fault. I call them out. But on this, I'm calling the APC also out because you people too did a lot of wuru, quickly added the provisos to it, passed it that same day. The next day, the president has signed it. Habba kana. Let me go to my substantive question. My substantive question is this. I'm concerned for the APC, and I'm concerned about Benue. This idea that Akume is supposed to be lord over the governor, isn't it wrong? Is the governor not 001 in his state? Why can't they leave Alia alone? Akume is in federal. And because the thing is causing a brickbat, that's why part of the places that you said had problem was also Benue. It parallels what is it called in Benue. Is it time for you people to leave the governor alone? How will Akume leave Abuja and say he wants to come? So this is causing a lot of friction in Benue. What's your take on it?
Thank you so much, my dear friend. Now, first, let me come back to the issue of the Senate President. As I responded to Ayo's question, I'm almost certain that whatever it was the Senate President said regarding loyalty and disposition towards the executive branch was not said as his elements as Senate President. But if it was an expression of his personal opinion, I am not competent, and neither are you to interrogate that. He is entitled to his own personal opinion, even as Senate President. Whether or not you think he should express it publicly, that I think is liable to your own assessment. But I think that in pursuant to his own right to free speech, nothing in the Constitution says that because you're Senate President, you should, muscle yourself or, keep away from expressing your views, even when you hold public office. And I think as long as that distinction is there, we must also, respect his constitutional freedom to speak freely about his own opinion. Now, about the House of Reps position that you said about regarding the proviso, Rufai, look, we must recognize that we have a bicameral legislature. We don't have a unitary, National Assembly. It's, composed of two, sections, the Senate and the House of Reps. And whatever law becomes law, whatever bill becomes law, must be assented, must be agreed to by both, chambers. Where they don't agree, a conference of the two chambers usually is empaneled to reconcile the, areas of difference or whatever disagreement that exists between the two sides. Now, that was done, and the outcome is the Electoral Act. The electoral bill, which became an act once it was assented to by the president.
No. I think I have to correct you. No. Mr. Morka, please, for the sake of the audience. Okay, finish and I'll correct you. For the sake of the audience, please. Finish.
Thank you so much. Let me finish. And I will be very patient for you to, interject and, put things from your perspective. Now, my point is that, the House of Representatives and the Senate, when they, met in committee, resolved what was the difference between the letter of the proposals from both sections of the National Assembly and the harmonization was what became law and which was assented by the president. The president does not have a third line to pull, a bill from National Assembly. It is what is presented to the president out of the, if you will, the harmonization of the two chambers, that it becomes the bill that is presented to the president for his assent, which he assented to in the lawful exercise of his presidential authority. Now, what I'm saying, Rufai, before you come in, is that this is not unusual. The timing, there's no schedule of time in the Constitution that says that the president must wait 30 days before assenting or must wait an hour. Once a bill is generated from National Assembly to the president has every prerogative to assent on the spot or delay or even veto that bill. The president, in exercise of his authority, accepted the bill. I'm sure that this criticism that it was assented hastily. Now, what happens? Once the bill is presented to the president, it doesn't go back to the National Assembly unless they recall it and go back to legislative evaluation. But once it's given to the president, it's assumed that the legislature is done with their deliberations, their review, and whatever else that they have powers to do. And now it becomes the bill for the president to sign or decline. The president signed it, and today we have the Electoral Act 2026. And that's the position of the law today, my dear friend.
Mr. Morka, I wanted you to quickly comment about Benue, because that matter is still there. But let me correct you. This was what happened, Mr. Morka.
Yes, I will.
Let me correct you. Since December, the House of Representatives passed something different, mandatory transmission with no proviso. It was after the Senate now passed their own with proviso, all right? The National House of Assembly members, House of Reps members, now came back. In fact, I remember when we interviewed Balogun here, the last day, they now went to change to coincide after they had passed something since December. So that's where a lot of people are saying there was a blind spot, it's an aberration. They didn't even need harmonization because what they did was they passed in such a way that quickly that they passed the same thing with the House of Senate. So there was no division and there was no harmonization. Quickly talk about Benue as we wrap up. Benue, the case of Benue.
Yes. Look, just a word on this. The House of Representatives does not generate bill for the National Assembly. Any bill that comes from the National Assembly, which is, composed of the Senate and the House of Representatives, must be united and harmonized. So any bill that generated by the National Assembly is a harmonized bill. Whatever bill or version was passed by the House of Reps or Senate is not the bill. It must be harmonized to become bill presentable to the president. And that's what happened. Now, as for Benue, you see, look, I'm sure you heard the vice president at the summit recently of the Progressive Governors Forum at the Villa, where he publicly, which was very unusual, but I think very instructive, said to both leaders in Benue, the governor and the SGF, the secretary to the government of the Federation, to come together and work out whatever differences that we have in Benue. So that tells you that at the highest level of the leadership of our party, they're very attentive to what's going on in Benue. And because we have two eminent leaders, the governor of the state and the SGF, and who also was a former governor, who are leaders in their own rights in Benue State, that they need to, for the sake of the people of Benue, resolve their differences. So that again, validates the point I made earlier, which is that our party takes very seriously this question of conflict resolution in the state. So look, I think that in time, the vice president has signaled that direction, that they need to really resolve this matter and come together for the sake of our party and in the best interest of the party and the people of Benue to enact a singular narrative for our party going forward towards 2027 in that state.
Okay, Felix Morka, although I wanted to ask you, what's your own personal plan? The primaries will come up very soon. Are you still comfortable with this talk work, or you want to go to Senate or House of Reps? You may also be seeking promotion. Anyway.
You've been in Asaba a lot lately. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you very much, Felix Morka, Publicity Secretary of the APC.
Yes, I'm a grassroots politician, so I have to be in my state. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay.
Thank you.